Great.
I like the Squid Game like intercom effect of recording in progress. I feel like I'm going to die.
Next game will start.
10 minutes. Hi.
Hi. Still in Florida.
I am still in the sunny state. Is that what it's called? Sunny state?
The Sunshine State?
Sunshine State. I am. And it is sunny.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Anyone that for wrong, please tell me. Yes, I'm still here till Friday.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then you'll be back with the weather here is phenomenal.
And that made me very excited. Because I was, of course, tracking what's the weather going to be when I get back on Friday night. And it was like apparently a lovely day. So I was like, I can do that. I can come back. I can grace you all with my presence.
You'll have a nice soft landing when you come back.
Yes, but it's been beautiful here. I've been playing tennis with the older fellows, and that's been actually a lot of fun. And being able to play tennis with my dad again, which I haven't done since I was a kid, has been really fun. So yeah, that and sunshine.
I'm looking forward to gardening. I have not touched any of my outdoor plants in months. So I'm looking forward to buying bigger pots and letting things bloom and grow. And I like to be surrounded by greenery. I think it's because I grew up in the country, but I like having live things around, whether it be animals or plants or anything. I just like to feel like I'm in nature.
No, and I'm sure they're out there patiently awaiting or impatiently awaiting your horticultural touch. No, I'm the same way. It's funny. I grew up on 7 acres, not exactly in the country, but I did grow up on a lot of land. But I love planting flowers. Like that reminds me of my grandmother. I used to do that with her. And every time I do it, it's very soothing to me because it brings me back to that like nice memory. I can't really do that where I am now, but I do need to invest in some more plants. Right now, I've just been trying to keep my orchid alive. Mm-hmm. I had serviced my friend with the dropping of the ice cube, which is how you water them, while I was gone. I said, would you please do an ice cube a week? Because they do not require a lot of water.
Oh, okay.
I said, can you do the ice cube drop? And they said, yeah. So hopefully the orchid is still happy when I return on Friday.
Is that just for orchids doing the ice cube thing?
As far as I know, although I don't know, my other plant died, so I'm trying desperately to keep this alive. I know they don't need a lot of water, and I looked it up, and that's what they said, and that's what other people have said, so that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's one thing is I invest in plants that are very hardy and don't need a lot of attention because I will forget sometimes. Like all of our indoor plants are very self-sufficient plants, like a lot of ivy and a lot of like snake plants and
is that one behind you?
Palms. Yeah, that's an ivy behind me. Like this is the one that everybody has. It's like impossible to kill and it barely even needs like sunlight and water. Yeah. Yep. And you can really easily make cuttings from them and just you stick them in water and they grow roots and then you put them in a pot and then you have another one. So
they're an easygoing plant.
Yeah. And I have one you can't see. It's a purple one that's in the window. It's a zebra plant. It's kind of like the ivy. It is an ivy, but it's kind of like the green ones where it's like really easy to take care of. You just put it in a window and water it and it gets really beautiful shade of purple. And then you just cut a little piece off, stick it in dirt and you have another plant. I like plants like that. Like if I want more, all I have to do is cut a piece off, stick it in dirt. The snake plants are like that too, which I didn't realize. I'm going to
be consulting with you when I purchase more plants. I didn't know your plant knowledge till right now. And now this is new information.
Especially during the spring and summer when I'm like in plant mode, I'll look up on Google for everything of like, how does this, cheap hardy plant. And like, oh, how do I propagate this? And usually it turns out it's really easy. And if it's a plant that's like super hard to propagate or like take care of, I'm usually like hard pass because I don't want to kill it. So, well,
you need an orchid in your life, so I will be delivering one to you.
They're hard to take care of, aren't they?
They're not. They're very easy. Like I just said, 1 ice cube a week for a standard size orchid. Literally, if you Google it right now,
it's supermodel diet.
What?
Supermodel diet, 1 ice cube a week. That's all
Yeah, and they don't like a ton of sunlight, so you don't want them in direct light. Like when my friend gave it to me, they were like, "Oh, I thought you could put it right here on your table," but my table gets like tons of light, so I moved it a little bit away to the coffee table. So they should not be in direct sunlight for like they can be in direct sunlight for 1 or 2 hours a day, and then that's it. If you do more than that, you're gonna kill it. But other than that, you put it in semi sunlight or whatever you call it. Give it an ice cube and talk to it, and it's happy.
It's like the best friend you could ever have.
Yeah, sing it a little song, whatever you want to do, Ralph. Get creative.
I like there's the air plants that all you need to do is like spritz them with water once a week and then they're fine.
Well, ferns were kind of like that, but ferns were high maintenance. I felt like ferns, I haven't had one in a very long time, and I used to love spritzing them, but I also feel like they weren't easy. They're pretty and they're fun with other plants.
Yeah. But they take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to be back together, right?
We will. Next week we'll be back together. We have some cool guests to round out the season. I'm excited about that. This is not a horticultural show, so if anybody is still with us, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, we're done. That's all I have. Zero.
Tuned out yet. We're trying something different. We talked about it before, but I have a topic that I have not shared with Kristin. You're going to see her blind react right here, or hear her blind react. It's a good topic, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised and interested. So,
drum roll.
Are you ready? I'm gonna pitch it to you. We'll see.
Okay.
All right.
I've got my seatbelt
on. Buckle up. So I did a post earlier today about a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. And the quote was, art is never finished. It's merely abandoned. Or a painting is never finished. It's merely abandoned, or like a poem. Like you can insert whatever kind of artwork you want in there. And it resonated with me because going to art school, like that's something that we learned when doing anything, is that if you work on something too much, it just turns to mush, it turns to soup. And then it's like, it's not what you wanted anymore. So there's a point where you have to say, this painting is done, and step away from it, and you don't work on it anymore. And that got me thinking about perfectionism and how a lot of times we will work on something, whether it be a job, a relationship, a way of life, a habit, or something, so much that we just turn it into soup. And it's just like, oh, I've overworked this. This is, speaking of plants, like we overwater it, we over trim it, we whatever, because we want it to be perfect. And see how I tied it. Oh my
goodness, we do it every week, and I don't know how we do it.
Every week. But it got me thinking that would be an interesting topic, because first of all, I love the quote, art is never finished. You just walk away from it. Or I heard it put another way, like a painting is never finished. It just stops at an interesting place. You walk away at an interesting point. And it got me thinking, why is it so hard for us sometimes to step away from something when it's in a good place, and we have to like keep working on it until it kind of falls apart? So that's my question for this week. How do you feel about that?
I like it. I'm surprised we haven't done anything on perfectionism, because I feel like I talk about this a lot.
I think we touch a lot on perfectionism, but I think the added twist this week is the walking away from something when it's either in a good, or stepping away from something, either when it's in a good place, or two, when there's really nothing more you can do for it. So that could be taken both ways, of like, yes, this is done, it's good, or this isn't working, I need to step away from this kind of thing. You know what I mean? It can be taken both ways. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I thought it was an interesting topic we haven't discussed, I don't think, is why is it so hard to walk away from something when it's at that point?
Or let it be.
Right.
Like maybe I'm saying the same thing, but I'm thinking about how we are with relationships or with ourselves. So a little bit of a different way of looking at let it be, just being okay with where that is, that thing, that relationship, yourself, and giving it a minute and being content with that when it's not perfect. There's another quote, and I of course don't know what it is, and I'm not going to remember it, but there's some quote that's around like what's wrong with being good? Something around like what is wrong with being good? Why do we always need it to be perfect?
There's a Steinbeck quote that's one of my favorite ones. Now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good.
Okay.
That's
Let's see how many quotes we can pull out of our pocket today. I almost said out of somewhere else, but I thought better and said pocket. Yeah.
This is the quote show. Now we're just going to be firing quotes at each other.
We're all just going to do quotes and lyrics. Yeah, I think that it's so centered. I just was speaking today about this with clients around being good enough. If there's so many people walking around, whether it be a relationship, whether it be their career, whether it be themselves, if it's not perfect, it's not good enough, which then translates to, I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. And so that drive, that push to keep going and turn it to mush is our own insecurity and fear of being judged, others seeing the internalized belief that we probably already have that I'm not good enough. Because if somebody else thinks it's not good enough, then it's true.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Am I going the right direction here?
No, we can go in any direction we want. It's our show.
Rain on the highway.
What?
I was thinking of us on the highway. We can go anywhere we want.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like an actual song you were singing.
Nope, just made it up.
Okay, good. Yeah, please make it up because we can't afford royalties or rights to anything. So make it up. Make the music up. Yeah. And I want to be careful when we talk about this because we both are in fields where people want to improve and get better and work on themselves. And I don't think that's what we're talking about today of like work on yourself and like the self-discovery and the mindfulness and the self-advocacy, kind of growing your best self. I don't think that's what I'm referencing. I think I'm referencing being able to, I think you touched on it for a second, being able to stop at certain points and say, I'm good right now. I can take a breath. I can relax. I am the best I'm going to get at this moment. And I want to sit back and enjoy it, I think is what I'm getting at with all this. Right.
Let me see if I'm on the same page or if I'm on the same wavelength, whatever. Yeah. Being able to kind of sit back and smell the roses rather than always looking ahead.
Right. Yes.
So, yeah. So we're always, again, if I'm going towards our work or off where you're trying to go here, let me know. But we're always a work in progress, right? Most people have areas they want to improve on, areas they don't love about, things they don't love about themselves. But we spend so much time on those areas, criticizing them and ourselves about it, that we often lose sight of what is good and what we are good at, or that we've come this far with this piece and aren't able to just sort of sit back and be content. And if we don't do that, we're never satisfied. We're never happy. If we're always looking towards our view of the future, which usually with what we're talking about anyway, includes it being perfect. So it's almost like being happy and content with imperfection. Am I on the right lane?
Yeah. No, you're speaking.
This is your topic. So now I really have to ask a lot of questions and check in and make sure I'm not just like going somewhere else.
No. You're 1,000%. And I think there is, I'm measuring my words today. I think there is we've been trained from a very young age to look for the things that aren't quite right, because that's how we have been trained to fix things, is like, look for the things that are wrong and then you can fix them. Mm-hmm. But then we take it to this extreme where that's all we see then is the is the negative, is the things that aren't quote unquote perfect. And if you do that, there's always going to be something to look for that's not quite right. Whereas if you flip it and try to reframe it positively and just look for things that are going well more often than you look for things that are going wrong, it's like what Neil was talking about.
Oh my God, I was just thinking that. Yeah. Sorry, right? I didn't mean to jump in, but I was just thinking about Neil.
It's like if you're just living in stress land and your painting is all red and it's hard to see the little bits of joy and positivity. But if you try to look for, if it's all the positivity, it's easier to see the stress points, that kind of thing. So for me, it's like, first of all, perfection doesn't exist. I will put that on my gravestone when I die because I think it's important. But we've trained ourselves so much to keep, continue the painting metaphor. We work so hard on our painting so much, and we're afraid to step away from it because we've been taught constantly that, if you're not working on something, you're not doing anything. You're not being productive.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? And so we just work on the painting and work on the painting and work on the painting. And pretty soon it's just this pile of mush that we have no idea what we're doing anymore. So I think it's important, like you said, to stop and smell the roses and take a step back every once in a while and say, I'm going to enjoy where I'm at right now. Yes, it's not perfect, but perfect doesn't exist. It's like, this is the best I can do right now. And that's okay.
Yeah. I was talking about this over this week and many weeks, excuse me, about the value on just slowing down, the value on relaxing, the value on being content, the value on not producing. We don't do that. That's the problem. A lot of times. So we think we have to keep going and going and doing more and doing more and doing this to it and doing that to it. And that fuels us. That makes us feel like we're doing something, we're good enough. And it gets in, it's like doing nothing, just sitting back, smelling the roses in society. And for a lot of people's individuals does not have value. And that is a huge part of the problem, in my opinion, in society for all of us, is that it absolutely does. But a lot of people struggle with that. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the society we live in right now, capitalism is built on, people working and not taking breaks and not taking vacation, because then you're not feeding into the cycle of, making money for people. So it doesn't behoove us right now to get on the mindset that we're talking about of taking it easy and working at your own pace and making time for yourself and important things. And every time I talk about this topic, whether to like networking groups or work groups or, giving presentations, people, it's the same. People always agree of like, the system needs to change. And the great resignation that's happening right now, the way people are rethinking what work is, what jobs they want, what they're not going to settle for, it's causing a lot of friction. And I think it's good, because we need to rethink how we work, why we work, what productive is, what work is, how do we make money, and not feeling guilty if our kind of work doesn't look like anybody else's. I mean, I'll be honest, the past couple weeks, I've had a breakdown because my work does not look like everybody else's. And, it got a little slower than I was comfortable with. And I freaked out, and it was not a fun place to be in, but I found myself comparing what I do with other people and saying, oh gosh, what I'm doing isn't good enough. I have to work harder. I have to do this. I have to sign up for all this stuff. And it took other people telling me, we have never seen you work harder. Like, you are working so hard. You're not taking a break. You're beating yourself up about, and sometimes it takes that outside point of view because we get blinders, and it's very, we get tunnel vision, and it's very hard to see, so that's why it's important to have other people to tell you, no, you're doing too much. You need to take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard when we're in that space, because I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but someone in a similar situation, if it's not you, you get insecure, you get really worried, fearful, and then that drives it even more, right? And so at that time, you might need somebody to reassure you and remind you that you're okay, you're not working too hard, and or not working too hard, and that everything's going to work out. So I think that makes a lot of sense. What I just said didn't really say a whole lot, but I said. And we're here. Hi.
And we're here, and we're talking. No, that totally makes sense. There's another aspect to this that I think is interesting, and I don't know if we've actually covered it, but the stepping back aspect of it, or walking away from something when it's good. Why is it so hard to do that? And I keep thinking in terms of relationships, and because I think that's something that people, when you say walk away from it, I think that's immediately what pops into somebody's head, is like either work, like a job, or a relationship, which both of them are kind of relationships if you think about it. Why is it so hard for us to walk away? Like the job example, I think would resonate with people more right now. This job is not working. I'm miserable. I'm dragging myself to work every day. It's like, why is it so hard for us to step away from that and say, I'm going to find something else?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I think,
right?
I think it's a couple things. I think it is, or could be a couple things. I think it's, people often feel a sense of failure, even if it wasn't their fault. And so it kind of, for some, again, I feel like I say this so many times a day, feeling not good enough, or that I failed. There's that. And I think there's also so much fear of the unknown. So even when something isn't working, right, there's predictability, certainty, even around the dysfunction, even around what's not working, the familiarity of it. And so it's often very hard to walk away from that, because then you're going into the total unknown, which is also super scary. But then you don't know. You don't know. You don't know what you're encountering at that point. Will it be worse? Will it be better? Will it be different? Will I know how to navigate it? Whatever it is. People are very comfortable in what they know, even when what they know is making them miserable.
Yeah.
I felt that should be a quote at that moment. And I was like, oh, no, it really isn't that profound. But
that is super profound. And it's the truth.
I'm silly. I'm silly a lot of times on Wednesday. I'm silly right now.
No, but it's the truth. And it's true, and it's sad at the same time that, the devil is better than the devil that you don't know. I would rather be miserable where I'm at, because at least it's a known quantity, rather than stepping out of my comfort zone into something new and different where I don't know what's going to happen. But then, I've been in jobs, and I'm sure everybody listening has been in jobs like this. I'm sure you've been in jobs where every time you think about leaving, you immediately, your soul like brightens up, and like the flowers bloom and the sun comes out, and it's like, oh, wouldn't that be nice if I could just walk away from this job? That counts for something, I think. Like if you're doing something and the thought of not doing it fills you with joy, follow that feeling.
I know, that's when I would be like, I want to work in a tiki bar in the Bahamas.
Oh man, yeah.
And that's all I want to do right now, and I want to leave this job. Or like every other job seems amazing. All right, guys, I digress, and then I lost my train of thought.
That's my dream job. That's what I like. I want to retire
Like in cocktail or something, or like
warm and sandy and serve drinks to people. And I don't even know how to make a lot of drinks, but that's nobody would care because we were all having fun. And, people would be able to play whatever music they want on the jukebox. And it's like, that's what I want my life to be.
are we outside or inside?
Outside.
Oh, okay. Because I was just like, there's a place down the beach here. There's a Marriott hotel. There's a really ridiculously nice Marriott hotel down the. I was going to say down the street beach, whatever you want to call it. It's on the beach, and they have like they have a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things they have is like a little tiki bar outside where you can get like sandwiches and you can get drinks. I don't know about the music part, but I was like, oh, Ralph, maybe that's for you.
Yeah.
We're like, I don't even know where we are now. We got off.
when it's fills you with joy to think about walking away from your job.
Yes, that's true, but it's all sort of fantasy land, like you and I are now illustrating.
Right.
And it's still so much fear and uncertainty. We get very caught in, even when things are negative and bad, that's why people stay in it. It's familiar and predictable. I mean, I've seen this with even mental, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent. I'll come right back, but not a tangent, but a mental health piece for a second. Like I've seen this with people who are very severely depressed, where not being depressed or anxious was actually very uncomfortable and freaked them out. And it was scary. And if you look like at the depressed clients, if I'm not this depressed, I have to actually take responsibility for things. I have to actually do things. If I don't have this identity, if I'm not in this world, I'm going to have, people are going to have expectations of me. I'm going to have to do more. So it's like when you travel into something different and new, it's very uncomfortable. Expectations and responsibilities can change. And especially when you're not even clear on what they will be. That makes sense about the depression thing?
It did. And it becomes your identity. And
your job can be that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And that made me think of how much more accessible, acceptable, connecting it is to hate your job. Because, misery loves company. We all kind of commiserate around, oh boy, I hate my job too. Ugh, gotta, bleh. Mondays, am I right? And it's much rarer to hear somebody say, oh my God, I love what I do. Let me tell you about it. It's usually the multi-level marketers or the pyramid scheme people. They're like, oh my God, I love what I do. You should come work with us. And, so it's weird. There's this negative stigma sometimes about people who do really love what they do because it's so foreign or an alien to how we usually think of like, no, you graduate college, you get a job you hate, you tough it out for 40 years, and then you retire, and then you can have fun when you retire. And it seems so weird and backwards to me.
It's so funny. Again, I feel like I brought up my dad last week and I'm bringing him up again, but hey, I'm living with them. My dad is one of those people that since the minute I remember my dad, so young age, my dad's loved to go to work, and he started and built a company. And to this day at 82, sorry, Dad, he loves to go to work. He loves to go to work, and he always has. And I always looked at that like, wow, that's so great. And I've been lucky enough that I found my passion early in my life. And I don't always love going to every job I've had, but I've loved what I do. And I think it's a rarity. And I think when you're not in that space, it's easier to do the whole misery loves company, complain, whatever it is, than it is to make a change, especially if you don't know what you want, especially if you don't know what you want to do or what the next step is. Like if you're stuck, you're like, I hate this, but I have no idea what to do next. The question and uncertainty around like next steps, future is way more profound and impactful than we give it credit for. People staying stuck is almost easier.
Yeah. Because it opens up a whole other can of worms. Again, it's about the devil we know versus the devil we don't know, and the biggest number one roadblock, I think, to people being able to step away from something that's not working is money. I think, like,
money and not knowing what.
right. I need this paycheck, because unfortunately a lot of jobs right now that exist do not pay a living wage. And so people, God, especially teachers, geez, they need to make quintuple what they make right now. More than that. But it's like, if you do, at least I have a paycheck coming in, even if it's like barely scraping by. The alternative is not having anything. And so that's a consideration for people who, may want to change. It's not necessarily I mean, definitely, yes, the aspect of, I'm in my comfort zone, this is okay, I'm miserable, but at least this is the miserable I know and I'm comfortable with. That's definitely an aspect of it. But if money wasn't an object or a concern, I think a lot more people would be doing what we're talking about and like saying, you know what, I'm going to find something else because I'm not happy here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot more of it now. Like you've mentioned a couple different times now. I agree with you. There's a lot of people making moves. And I say a lot based on the small number of people I see a week. It's not like, but even within that small group, I've seen a lot of people making moves. But, when you're in a space where you're unhappy and then you're thinking about a change, there's also that fear around, well, what if this change, I'm still unhappy? I mean, that's another big piece. Like, then there's something wrong with me. We're back to that.
Yes.
Then you know what I mean? Like, it's not the job, it's me, which then there's people that have that piece playing into it.
As a therapist, I'm going to put
Tell me how you really feel as you see my bruises from my
clinical. I didn't want to say anything, but you.
Oh my God, I know. Like I bagged my arm. This is how easily I bruise on the top of this chair, and I look like I was beaten.
You look like you fell down a flight of steps.
I know. I look like I literally went through some sort of major assault. No, banged my arm.
Are you a stun woman and you didn't tell me?
I'm not. I just have these lovely bruises on a regular. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, oh crap! I forgot what I was going to say.
You said as a therapist, and then I had the bruise situation.
Yeah, as a therapist, is it ever? How helpful is it to say, "There's nothing wrong with me. It's the situation"?
You mean to a client?
No, somebody saying that to themselves.
Oh, probably helpful. Depends on what type of client you're working with.
Well, sure, like barring any kind of
narcissism or something else, yeah.
Like issue that you need to work through with somebody who's licensed, barring any of that stuff. Generally, I would think it's okay to remind yourself, it's not me, it's the situation.
Yes, because, well, at least with the clients I work with, and that's all I can speak on because, I don't know who other therapists are working with, but the clients I work with tend to be very, very self-critical. And so it's always their fault. And so being able to say, which for many people is when you get away. Like I am thinking of one client right now who just got out of a very tough work environment. And then I was like, what the hell? Like, so happy in the new environment. And even before they got into the new environment, when they stepped away and really evaluated what was going on, they were like, oh my goodness, like this was really bad. And then when they got in a new job where they're being treated the way they should be, it's been like overwhelming in a great way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I definitely think that's usually a big positive, but I feel like, at least again, my client base, and that's all I can speak to, is I work with a lot of people with self-esteem issues and a lot of people that put a lot of pressure on themselves, don't feel good enough. They blame themselves first. When, for me listening or many people looking in, I'm like, this is clearly not you. Mm-hmm. When it depends on what's going on with the person and what their issues, like kind of what's going on. If the narcissist, they think everything's everybody else's fault and they're wonderful. So I wouldn't say that about a person that has that personality disorder. But for people that do not, even if that culture works awesome for someone else, if it's terrible for them, then it's terrible for them, period. The culture of the company is what I'm saying, or their department.
Right. It's hard. It's so weird. Like, we're used to the punishment of it. I feel like sometimes, like, we feel like it's much more natural and normal to be in a negative work environment than in a positive one. And I may be overgeneralizing, but that's kind of, I feel like that in my life, like sometimes it feels like, looking back on my job history, the harder, not the harder the work is, but like the more negative the environment is, it's kind of like, oh, this is expected. This is what a job is, And so it's hard to kind of move away from it because you feel like that's the norm.
I know. I feel like, again, I just have a therapist hat on about it. Maybe it's annoying, but I feel like
that's why we hired you for this job.
Oh, yeah. So where's my paycheck, Ralph? No, I feel like it's how we value ourselves. I just do. If we put up with that and we think that's okay, and we think it's okay to be unhappy, it's maturity. I'm not gonna, people that are young and new, and of course they're a little insecure in a workforce, might put up and tolerate with shit that, stuff that they shouldn't. And I get that they're learning the ropes. They're not really used to the professional world. But I just think that so many of us, again, I just look at it through the lens of the work I do. I just think so many people tolerate so much stuff, and they shouldn't, and they don't realize how much it's affecting them. And that's why this stuff continues to continues to happen.
Yeah. And now I want to connect it to like personal relationships, because that's bubbling up in my brain. Hearing us talk about this is
those are my jam. Let's do
it. Right? Why is it so hard to walk away from a personal relationship that's not working? And I think a lot of the stuff we've been talking about for work translates over to personal relationships, right? Like we're, bless you.
I'm doing all kinds of shit.
It's a loose show today, really loose, loosey goosey. It's okay. That's what people enjoy about it.
Oh God, all right.
But that's kind of like the punchline of comedy, is like, oh, I'm in this crappy marriage with this person that hates me, but we love each other. But oh God, I have to go home to this person. It's like, how abusive and like terrible is that? If you think about it, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, it should be like, yeah, I get to go home and see my favorite person, and we're going to, hug and eat dinner.
Well, so many things I could speak on that. Keep it professional, Kristin. Keep it professional. I just think that it's the same thing. It's like the fear of the unknown. Like, could I do better? Is this all I deserve? Same thing. I mean, that's literally what people are doing. And I think a lot of people enter into relationships and marriages with these rose-colored glasses on of perfectionism, and quickly realize that nothing's like that. Mm-hmm. And then it's very disappointing and upsetting. And then some people work on it and it gets better. Some people get out, and some people sit in it. And then, like I said minutes ago, they're very comfortable because it's predictable, but they're not happy. People then get comfortable in not being happy. Mm-hmm. And we see it all the time. You don't have to be a therapist or a life coach to see it. Everyone listening has seen this
all the time.
It's not everybody, of course. Thank God there's people that are together and they're happy. But then you see a lot of people that aren't, and they just kind of like throw their hands up and like, well, this is what I signed up for. Which I'm not saying everybody should like run away every time they're not happy, but I also think that a lot of people get comfortable in that. It's like the opposite of perfectionism. it's accepting that things are so beyond not perfect, but I don't know how or want to do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That just blew my mind a little bit, because I've been preaching so much that perfection doesn't exist, and like it's the best you can do at the moment. The opposite of that is what you just said. You know, everything's broken. That's the way it is. And I'm just going to accept that. And, you know, it doesn't get any better. That's just as toxic as thinking everything needs to be 100% spick and span perfect. And
I think, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
No, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we're being so polite. It's the polite show now. It's the polite pod. No, you go.
No, I was cutting you off, and I don't want to do
It's like, if there's people out there who met their person in high school, like their high school sweethearts, they've been married for 80 years, you know, that's wonderful. If you found your person that early and you've been together all that time and you're still like chugging along and happy, mazel tov, that's amazing, you know?
Yeah.
But that's not everybody. And I think that's important to mention, is that every relationship's different. Every work relationship's different. Every personal relationship's different. Don't compare yours to other people. But then I also want to say, the person you met and got into a relationship with, that was a specific point in time. You were a specific person. That person was a specific person at that specific point in time. People are not static. People change, people grow, people shift. And if after 2 months, 2 years, 2 weeks, whatever the case may be, you feel like, I don't know if this is my jam anymore, that's okay. You know, it's okay to say that, because you shifted and changed. And, you know, I think we have this weird idea, especially in America, of like, you meet a person young, you get married, you have kids, you go through this whole life cycle. And if you get beyond a certain age, it's like, oh, you've aged out of the process. Too bad. You're a spinster now, or you're, you know.
Oh, I hope not. Jeez.
That's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. Like, do you, you know, and whatever you find along the way, whoever you connect with. And I mean, I think it's a wonderful muscle to work if you can look back on your previous relationships with rose-colored glasses and say, you know what, maybe I miss that person. Maybe it ended terribly, or maybe this, but you know, we got together for a reason, and you know, it was what it was, and it was an interesting point in my life. I don't know. I may be rambling at this point, but
I like the fact that we brought up the opposite of what we started with, which is people that just settle for total imperfection, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't think either is good. I think the middle is good, which is that content and satisfied, I think falls right in the smack in the middle. And I think that's a reasonable place to reach and be. And I think that people that met in high school and are together 30 years later and are happy, are content, are satisfied, grew together, love their partner. I think pushing yourself so hard to be perfect. We're talking about relationships now, so we'll do that. But then there's people that don't try at all anymore and give up and don't just accept, I don't want to say imperfection, just unhappiness.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think that's very sad too. Like, I think there's two extremes, and like there's no way to sustain. Well, you can sustain, to contently sustain either. You're never going to be ecstatically happy in love that you are when you first meet someone we were talking about high school sweethearts, 18, let's just say. And what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
I don't know either. And nothing's going to get any better if you're unhappy and you just sit there in that. Like, it kind of just speaks to the idea of work within a relationship, I guess, which is a little bit of a tangent, but relevant, I believe. Like, you you have to put work in. So even the couples that stay together for 70 years, they put work in. They weren't ecstatic with each other and in love and feeling like, I want to jump your bones and spend every minute all those years. But they worked through it and they grew together and they're content and they're happy and they love each other. So it's the same thing with like being unhappy. It's like you either sit in that and just ride it out and die, I guess, till you die, or you make a move, which that move is to repair a relationship or to leave relationship. But I think there's a lot, again, it goes back to what we started talking about at the beginning of this. Leaving relationship that we're not happy with is very scary, especially if we've been with someone for like 20 some years and you now want to go out into the world and like figure out dating, like what? So it's easier sometimes to just stay in the unhappiness because it's very predictable. It's comfortable. I've been unhappy for a while. And what the heck does out there have? Like, what's going to happen? Is it going to be worse? I like how I just circled right on back to how we started, Ralph.
You are an expert.
I didn't even know what we were talking about today. And
expert level hosting right there. They're going to write a book.
Are we on the list for the Oscars? They're coming up 2 weeks.
The Oscars.
Are we nominated?
Yes, we were snubbed this year for the Oscars. Maybe next year. I can always hold out hope.
Okay.
No, I love everything you said. It's work, it's process, but it's also asking for what you need and what you want. You can't stay silent in any of this, in a work environment, in a personal relationship. If you don't ask for what you want, you're not going to get it. If you don't ask for what you need, you're not going to get it. And so communication is paramount in all of this. And I know we're not used to it and it can be hard, but that's very telling. If the person you're in a relationship with meets, if you are asking for what you want and what you need, and if that person gets defensive or is very negative and shoots it down or like gaslights you or whatever, that's a huge red flag right there. Like, maybe this is not the space I should be in right now. Mm-hmm. But if the person you're in a relationship with listens to you and was like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's work on that. That sounds like a good idea. Great. I want you to be happy. Let's get you what you need. That's different. That's a different story. Like there's a way. And I would hope both people do that for each other in the relationship.
Think of how many shifts and turns and compromises and everything else people that have been together, like my parents, maybe yours too, Ralph, I'm not sure. My parents have been together 60 some years. I can't remember now. It's like, and they've got their interesting idiosyncrasies, we'll say. I don't know what the word is. Just leave it at that. Like all the shifts and turns and they bicker and but like how many things you have to do to make that work for that long. And look, I don't think that they should get a gold star over someone else that it didn't work. It just did for them. They just did for whatever reason.
Right. And
that's that. And for people that can't make it work or don't, or whatever life circumstances throws them, that's it. I don't know. I feel like we're on a thing.
No, my parents have been together for 46, 47 years around then. That wasn't all wine and roses either. It was a lot of work, but you see them and they're so in love still, and they truly like each other, I hope. And they're making it work. I mean, for me, I've been in my relationship for 21 years now, and it's like I couldn't. Yes, it's been hard, but I couldn't imagine life without Dan. We I didn't mean to make you cry.
For anyone that can't see, I freaking love Ralph, as you all know, and I love Dan just as much.
But the thing that I joke about,
I had to go have a Hallmark moment,
which is kind of what you've been saying, is that, oh my God, if I had to go back into the dating world after 22 years or 21 years, I would be lost. I mean, I'm only 46, but I would feel like an 86-year-old asking my grandchildren, like, Where do I go to find somebody? Is it Hinge? Is it Bumble? I don't know,
Right.
What does it mean to swipe left? What is this? Why do I have to pay extra? So I couldn't. I'm at the point now where I'm very content with where I'm at. But it's a good, happy content. It's not like I'm settling. It's like I've worked.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I've worked for this to be where it is right now, and I'm very happy with that. And it's like a supportive, foundational part of my life where, I mean, if I had to go through everything I've gone through in the last couple of weeks by myself, I would have driven myself into the river,
Is Dan listening? Does he hear you say
He's not.
Just kidding.
He will hear this, I'm sure. He doesn't.
Yeah, and I think all of this speaks, as much as I thought we kind of went off the topic, I don't think we did, because I think it speaks to the imperfections of content and happy, that being imperfect and struggling is part of being your own. Like, let's look at it as your own definition of perfect. Like, I don't even want to use that word, but I'm trying to be eloquent. It's not coming out. But what I'm trying to say is that everything not perfect, all your ducks not in a perfect row, some outstanding problems can be good, real good, but not perfect.
Man.
Signing off from Florida.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to end on. I think that's.
I felt like a newscaster right there.
Right? And
like David Muir at the end of World News, only not as depressing. But yeah.
Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow. No, I think that's a great point to end on. Imperfect is fun. And I think going back to what we started off with, a quote about art and like being able to walk away from a piece of art and saying it's done. If I work on this anymore, I'm going to ruin it. It's the same thing, anything that you leave there, imperfections, quote unquote, that opens more doors and opportunities for discovery and growth. And like, ooh, this is interesting. This is fun. I didn't know that before. If everything was perfect, none of those opportunities would exist, because the imperfections are what makes life fun and interesting.
And I always think of this, I don't know, I'm not even going to tell you where I heard this quote because it's embarrassing, but some people are only in your life for a season. And I think you could look at that with jobs too. Like being able to recognize that this person, this relationship, this job was here to teach me X. That's what I do a lot with my clients, of trying to make them understand that like, this was not a waste of time. Like, and not to be corny but everything's a journey and it's meant to happen, in my opinion, which is not therapy, but just sort of the way I look at the world, like to teach you this and then to teach you this. And some people and some jobs are here, and some whatevers are here for just a minute, a hot minute or a season. And they're here for this reason. It might be an ugly lesson. It might not be pretty or anything you wanted to go through. And then they're meant to go. And then other jobs, other people, other relationships are here for a lifetime. And I always remember that, because I think it's so true. Because sometimes we try to hold on too long to make that job perfect, that relationship perfect, that person perfect, ourselves perfect. And we don't recognize it. Like, even with ourselves, if we're having a rough time, it's a bad season. It's a stormy season. Doesn't mean we're always going to be there.
Wow.
I didn't come up with that. I just said it.
That was fire and brimstone. I liked it. I have nothing else to add. That was great.
I silenced Ralph.
You did. I am speechless. Well done. It's hard to do.
I mean, I did not make that up. That was not me. That was something I heard that spoke. I think about it a lot.
I will think about that now too. I think that's great. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Awesome. How did that work out that I sprung that topic on you?
I thought I did okay, Ralph, with you. Given that I feel like I have vacation brain and I'm a little bit of a mush, but I thought I was all right.
I thought that was great.
Stay up. Yeah. I always feel happy.
Florida brain and all.
Florida brain. Yeah.
Florida brain. All right. Cool. I think that's a good place to sign off.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you back. I will be back in Philly with Ralph, which I'm happy about.
Yay, I'm happy too. And we'll have 2 really great guests to round out the season. We're rapidly approaching the end of season 3, which is amazing. And our anniversary is coming up June.
When? Oh, we got to have a party. Pizza?
I think we're going to have a party. Maybe we'll do a live something. We'll try live again, but like for real this time.
We're like maybe all our guests and pizza.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and balloons.
Ooh, the sun is hitting my...
All right, well, it's time for you to sign off. The sun is telling you bye.
The sun is telling me that it's time to sign off. All right, everybody, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.